Hi, I'm Dr. Mark Lewinter, licensed acupuncturist at Metro Acupuncture in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm here with my lovely co host, acupuncture partner, and mom, Dr. Andrea Lewinter. Mom, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
Doing great. You excited about today's topic?
I'm very excited about today's topic.
Excellent, excellent.
So, Mark, what are you drinking there?
Well, thank you for asking. I'm drinking today's topic.
Excellent.
Uh, and you may be asking yourself,
So, what's today's topic?
today's topic is hot water.
Excellent. One
We're
of
not
my
in hot
favorites.
water. We're talking about hot water. And
Excellent.
it takes, you may think anyone can talk about hot water. And it's true. Anyone can talk about hot water. But I think it can take a certain skill set to talk about hot water from a medicinal perspective. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is medicinal hot water.
medicinal hot water is not just regular hot water. Well, the um the topic started a few weeks ago when we were in Japan and we went to the tea ceremony.
Yes.
What'd you think of the tea
Lovely tea.
ceremony?
Lovely tea ceremony.
So
I'm
great, wasn't it?
actually still in the tea ceremony.
It's like the tea ceremony continues. I mean, you think it's just, how the segment, however long it is, 35, 45 minutes, but it keeps going.
It does, it does.
Well, the tea ceremony was wonderful, and I remember, us leaving the tea ceremony and me just feeling really connected and super relaxed, and I think that it was several things. It may have been the matcha tea, which has a combination of caffeine for alertness and, theanine for relaxation. It may have been the, dressing up in the kimono. It may have been just spending time with you in this area that was very calm and learning something new. It was several things. It was a vibe, it was the warm beverage. So, that was a wonderful experience. And then, about a week or 2 after that, someone shared with me and they said, "What is your favorite herb for anxiety?" And anxiety is a very complex thing to treat. For many people, it is a lifelong problem,
Mhm,
and I think that anxiety is increasing, and the tools that we are using to, treat anxiety, especially when we're talking about pharmaceutical medicines, can have side effects,
mhm.
and to find alternatives to treat anxiety, I believe, is very important, and there are many herbs that historically have been used to help treat anxiety, but I think that being able to start with something simple can give one the best chance of noticing if there's an improvement, and then if we need to make something more complex, we can build up from there. And when something is simple and easy to access, I think it also can be empowering for the patient. And because anxiety can uh, ebb and flow throughout the day, wax and wane. Some days there's less anxiety, some days there's more anxiety. I think that to be able to have a tool at one's fingertips is of great benefit. So, when we talk about a Chinese herbal formula, an herbal formula can include plants, which herbs, but it also can include minerals. The minerals aren't herbs, but that word herbal formula will be used as a kind of a catch-all term. So an
Mm,
herbal formula could have plants, minerals, even animals in the product. The Many of the herbal formulas e end with the word "tong." Tong means soup, and the main ingredient one of the main ingredients in soup is water. So, it's been my personal experience, most recently from the, tea ceremony, and then just in general, when I sit down and I hold a warm beverage and I take a sip of something that is pleasantly warm, not hot where it's gonna burn, but soothing. It's soothing and it's warm. A couple things happen. That soothing sensation creates a natural calm, just kind of like a warm bath would, and it helps the muscles relax. And it also can that warm water can help relax the smooth muscles in the gastrointestinal system. So we know about that connection between the gut and the brain. So
Mhm.
we send a message of warmth. Many people associate that with calm and safety to the peripheral nervous system in the gut, and that message goes to the brain. And there's feedback loops. So the brain says, "Oh, I'm getting something warm." We tend not to drink or eat things that are soothing when we're in a state of threat. Also, the warm water can increase blood flow and it can lead to mild vasodilation, the widening of blood vessels. And this
Mhm.
can support circulation and again help our muscles relax and organs feel more at ease. There also can be just a ritual to sitting down and drinking some warm water. The cup that I have here is a cup that is from my friend Amy Jo. She gave it to me, and, in a little bit, I believe you're gonna share, one of your favorite cups, and we're gonna talk about that. So, I know I've said a lot, and I am not wanting to be overly simplistic thinking that warm water will treat anxiety, and to use water in another term, I often will say it's easier to dig the well before we're thirsty. So it's easier to treat a condition earlier in an acute phase than treat it when it becomes chronic. And it's easier to address something like anxiety if we were thinking about zero anxiety was on a meter was kind of green. And then if we entered into this yellow phase, it would be kind of, you'd be anxious, but it's still manageable. And then when it's red zone, it can be almost too late. I think that this warm water approach is when the anxiety is in kind of a yellow, and it's not a one-time deal, okay? We often have to regulate ourselves in many ways. Sometimes it might be by sitting down and drinking some warm water. Other times it may be by going outside for a walk. For some people, it may be taking a certain medicine. But to be able to have a tool at one's fingertips, and this is available almost almost everywhere for many people. Go to a restaurant, start out with some warm water. You are at work and working with some challenging people or uh, working through a challenging project. Maybe sipping some warm water can help bring regulation. So, I was I was surprised at my answer when a question was asked, "What is my favorite herb for anxiety?" And I said warm water, and then I had to kind of back that up. I wanted to it really felt like a great awakening for me, and I wanted to not just share that with one person, I wanted to share it with many people. So that's why I was wanting to talk about this as today's topic. And we're not talking about, tea, but I did wanna bring in a quote. It's not really clear precisely who said this, but the quote is, "There is no trouble so great or grave that cannot be much diminished by a nice cup of tea." And I think the
That's
idea
right.
is that, you sit down, you have something warm, and you're present, mindful, and the challenges that we had in the past become less bright, and the challenges that we have, we predict that might happen in the future, maybe become less bright, and we just feel a little bit more present and a little bit more safe with some warm water. So, wanted to talk about that today, and love to hear your thoughts on that, Andrea.
Well, I think warm water has been used for so many things. We have people talking about having that cup of warm water in the morning to help, again, regulate things, to help move the bowels and to feel safe. So I think warm water has been used for a long, long time. One of the things that you said with that quote is there's no problem big enough that a cup of tea won't help. And if you look back in our history, it was always, well, let's sit down and have a cup of tea. Somebody comes into your home upset, let's sit down and have a cup of tea or even coffee because it was warm, because it was something that you would hold that cup, you would grasp that cup. There's something about warmth that really helps the nervous system. I would say settling down that sympathetic nervous system, activating the parasympathetic so we can rest and digest.
That's right.
So yeah, I think it's absolutely so appropriate. We have so many little things that really we know intuitively that make us feel better, and we forget to use them because again, we're always in that fight and freeze mode. And what's next? And what's next? And what's next? And what's next can be, oh, let's have a cup of tea. Let's have a cup of warm water. So those are my thoughts with it, with that. I think it's a wonderful reminder for people to, yes, let's just pace ourselves into relaxation by using something as simple as a cup of warm water.
Exactly. And we're often when we're uncomfortable, we want immediate relief. And there are medicines that can provide quick relief. But my subjective experience is by holding something warm and by sipping it very quickly, I feel that ease. So it doesn't necessarily have to be something that is complex, that is very expensive, that you might need to get a prescription for. There are things that can help break the pattern and send that sense of safety to the body. As I was thinking about this topic, I was remembering my grandfather, your father, enjoyed watching some cowboy movies. And he would joke, he would say, the one person they got hurt, they fell, maybe even got shot. And then their friend would give them a sip of water, and he said, "That's cowboy water." And he's like, what'd you see? Once they drink that cowboy water, they're gonna get up and be all better. And it's just a great way to have, uh, people, care for each other and, to add, a dramatic moment by giving them water. But I do like the idea that so if you're not sold on the idea of, warm water being helpful for anxiety, maybe cowboy water
Might
might
do it
be
for you.
even better for things like falling off a horse. Well, this is also not to diminish that there are many herbs that can be helpful for anxiety. And there are many tools that we can use that can be helpful for anxiety. I've now been practicing acupuncture for over 25 years. And I find that if I can make the treatment simple, the suggestions simple, it's most helpful for my patients. And that's what I like to bring is my experience, my personal experience, my professional experience and expertise to be able to make someone's life better. And when we're talking about something like anxiety, I think it's important to make it less complex. So, not everyone is gonna like warm water. Some people are hot-natured. There's
Mhm.
for some people, this might not be soothing. So, it's just an option, and it's safe. If you drink warm water and you're already fully hydrated, well, you know, then you're gonna be a little bit more hydrated, but the side effects are very low. And we talked about the ritual. I was looking around and I noticed, okay, I've got my favorite cup from Amy Joe, and I've got this mug that a patient gave me, and then my good friend John brought this back for me from Japan many years ago, and my mom gave me this, as and I've kept it, and I've got this, the Dunwoody 5K. I believe I was the fastest in my age group, and I got a mug. We have all these mugs that have personal attachment. Why is that? I think it's because people often associate the contents in here with something very nourishing and calming, and they want to maybe be linked to that. It's just a little hypothesis, but, um, I know that I believe you might also have a mug to share. Is that right, Andrea?
I do. So, Mark, thank you for asking. This is one of my very, very favorite cups. I keep it upstairs because very often I'll be upstairs reading and I'll have some tea up there. So I keep this and I'm going to bring it up, and there's a little saucer associated with it. And it's just a little blue and white cup that I enjoy so much having tea out of. While we were in Japan, I wanted to bring something back that I'd enjoy, that I could continue to enjoy. So I found this mug, and I actually have tea in it that I was drinking before our call. So this is my latest Japanese cup.
So I noticed that the cup looks like it's, made up of several pieces of, ceramic, and it's, broken with a little bit of gold holding it together.
It's a great observation, Mark. This is a technique that was started in Japan called kintsugi. And what the intention is that when something is broken, that it's not wasted. We can put those things back together and bring the spirit of that even more treasured. So it's a technique where they put pottery or cups or glasses back to get bowls back together using a resin, and normally they'll cover it with gold dust to make it even more precious. There's a philosophy that says when we look at something, we should look at it as already broken, because everything changes. Everything has its own life cycle. So this is a wonderful way to remember the preciousness of something that may have already been broken, and we're bringing it back to life for another time.
Well, that sounds like a fantastic vessel to use as a anchor into knowing that life isn't perfect. Things still, even when they're broken, they still have use, and we can uh, become more into and aware of this precious moment, life.
Yeah. And I think what you mentioned is that we forget we have all these tools. We just forget to use them. We forget that, wait a minute, if I want to release some anxiety, maybe all I need to do is just sit down, put my feet on the floor. Maybe all I need to do is open the door and step out into the environment. So we have these things, we know them, but we forget. And the hot cup of water is just so precious and so mindful. And we're always told by all of our doctors, drink more water.
But they don't
So
mention the temperature.
they don't mention the temperature.
Adding
adding
to
the
good advice.
adding the warmth,
Yeah,
adding the warmth.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So thank you for this topic. I thought it was really wonderful.
Absolutely, and of course, we're not only able to make good suggestions like, talking about hot water. One of the most profound experiences of deep relaxation I ever had was my first acupuncture treatment. So that if you're in the Atlanta area and you wanna experience acupuncture, come and see us. We do a great job. We're Metro Acupuncture in Atlanta, Georgia, and we'd be glad to meet you and glad to help you feel better,
And we'll give you a cup of warm water.
if you like.
Thank you for your listening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.